All right, good evening, everybody. I think we can start already. So it's 2 minutes past and the rest can join a little bit later. So my name is Alice and I'm gonna be your host today. I'm also a co-organizer of OnProduct, and I'll give you a brief introduction of what OnProduct is and who am I. So I'm a senior product manager at Project Day, which is an operational VC. So which means I work with many startups at different stages. So a scaling product in business to human environment. And product is a meetup, which is it's an online living community of 3,333 members, which I checked today. So we started quite some time ago, and first offered on-site events and moved, of course, with the pandemic, as you all know, to their online spaces. So we're currently offering meetups online. Our goal is to build a living community of product managers, designers, developers, and quality assurance engineers to exchange ideas, experience, and good practices. So basically, we are all continuously searching for interesting speakers. So if you feel like you possess a valuable experience that you would like to share and give back to community, like Alex today, then please reach out to me directly or message us on OnProduct on LinkedIn. So I'll give a brief introduction what today will be about. So as you know, we will be talking about from product manager to a co-founder of a tech company, 10 Steps Guide. During the presentation of Alex, you can ask questions at Slido. I will pause a little bit here. I will also share the link a little later in the message section on Zoom, so that you could ask your questions there. I'm sure Alex will also allow us to pause during the presentation or like keep all the questions at the end of the talk. And last but not least, our speaker today is Alexander Pathi. If to complete name, he's a co-founder and managing director of his own startup, which is called Byways. Alex has a great experience in startups and logistics. He is former Rocket, Foodora, Instafright, also former head of product of the current top 10 LinkedIn startups, Xander of 2020. And yeah, so as I mentioned already, he is building his own company in their tech logistics revolutionizing logistics around the warehouses with AI. Alex, I think stage is yours.
Thank you very much.
I'll stop sharing so that you could share your screen.
Oh yeah, wow, hold on. Now it's gonna take a second for me to figure this out.
No worries.
So, one sec.
Meanwhile, I'll post a link to Slido.
Perhaps this one?
Yep, that works.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. So just tell me if you can see the screen.
Exactly. Yes, that works.
Many screens here open. Perfect. So green light, yeah? I can start.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. So hi everyone. I am Alex. First of all, thank you, Alice, for making this happen, and thank you, the whole OnProduct team. This is the first time for me in this section OnProduct. So very, very happy for that. And also big thank you for everyone that took their time from their busy schedules to actually listen to me sharing some of the experience of, let's say, being a product manager and how that actually helped me to start a company, and a little bit of information and how does it feel to be a founder for the first time finally. Cool. So let's maybe talk about who is the talk for briefly. So the talk is dedicated mainly to people who want to become product manager or who want to perhaps change from their current job or start their own company. But in general, I would say for everyone that is interested in a career development in general. Before the talk, I quickly checked on LinkedIn, like how many, like what is the backgrounds of people that that are actually joining the talk. It's super interesting. So I'm really very much looking forward to it. And one more thing that I wanted to point out here is that preparing for this talk actually made me realize so many things. So I'm already happy with the outcome, to be honest. Cool. A little bit about me. I know that Ali's already presented me, but maybe just let's say brief understanding of where I come from and what I do and why I do these things. So now finally building my own company. This was my lifelong dream, and I'm again more than happy to share what is happening in the past year on my side. The company is called Byways. Maybe, or also for your context, what do we do in our company? We are optimizing logistics and supply chain around warehouses with machine learning and artificial intelligence. As with the current state of art, it's just not really possible to create like a smooth flow of goods across the globe. And just in Europe, tens of billions of euros are wasted every day just on simple things as trucks waiting in front of warehouses. So this is something we like to tackle. I have a co-founder called Simon. He's a machine learning PhD, spent so many times in software development, and is right now one of my closest partners in life. Let's talk about maybe what happened before I started the company. As Alice mentioned, I was mostly in product roles in companies like Foodora, that is right now Delivery Hero, or Instafreight, it's a road freight logistics company. I was basically the first full-time employee there, working closely with Gionotto. Then I joined Sender, that is actually last week was announced to be the newest unicorn. So I'm pretty sure Project Day is also happy about this recent news. And I have to say, what was happening at Sender for me was the best experience of my life, the best job I ever had, the best people I ever met. And I would say a combination of three things: best people, best culture. Second thing is I had a chance to manage the whole product, which was never happened before. I was super excited about it. And the third thing, the founders were just straight up hustlers, but in a good way, right? So once you enter the room, you already knew, 3-4 years ago that this is going to be the successful company. Maybe a little step back, also something what happened in my early life. The reason why I'm in logistics, I believe, is because one of my first jobs when I was 14 was working at the warehouse, and learned the craft. Came back actually 4 times in a row, always during a summertime, 3-4 months to learn language and earn some money. And then perhaps, so you don't think I just work, I also have some hobbies, right? So 2 of my passions are, one is snowboarding. So I'm from Slovakia, so pretty much spent all the time in the mountains when I was a teenager. And second one is chemistry. So I always was super passionate about material science, and I also spent 6 years on university studying and creating new materials, mostly metals. Cool. A little bit about me. Now, maybe what is the goal of the presentation, just so we understand, let's say, who is the audience and how should this be perceived. So the goal is to share my point of view, so to be slightly subjective on, let's say, how was it for me becoming a product manager, and how was it for me becoming a co-founder. And I have very humble experience, especially from the co-founding area, as this is just happening for over a year. But would love to share with you, like, demystify a couple of things and share with you what is actually happening there. Then, because I can ramble about these topics for hours, I created slides to make it just a little bit more structured. So I would like to structure this talk in a way that I will give you 10 steps, roughly, in my career from becoming a product manager to where I'm right now. And we will structure it to 2 parts. One would be 5 points about experience and learnings from the area of product management. And the other 5 would be from starting a company. It would be delivered in a way of, let's say, anecdote or a story and some sort of a learning from it. As Alice mentioned, I'm not sure now if questions now or later. So whatever Alice says is gonna be the best. Cool. So let's look at the first slide. Let's start. Becoming a product manager. So I have a little maybe nice story to start with. I started working with one startup. The role was not very specific. It was something between operations and product. The only thing I knew was there was so many things to solve, right? And one day I got to talk with some of the people from call center and at that specific company, and they told me their problems. I wasn't yet a professional product manager, but they started sharing these things with me, like how difficult it is to let's say share the discount codes with the angry customers that call them. So I actually took this as a challenge, came home and started thinking. The good thing was that a friend of mine from when I was working back in Vietnam, he taught me a little bit about Google Scripts. That's something I never thought I'm going to use again. But I got to coding actually for the first time in my life at the early age, and figure out that yeah, JavaScript is basically super similar language that Google Scripts use, and I was able to build a tool that was simply pulling data from database, displaying it on the screen of the call center agent, and then hiding again, like trashing it basically. So there is no duplicates and people don't need to search for things. It was just a simple click of a button. And this was happening specific per countries, per value of the discount code. And yeah, after a while, we were able to roll it out to 10 countries. And then some like a natural way of for me to let's say move to the product team. So this was like a first serious product management job I had. When it comes to learnings here, first of all, if you want to do a product management job, you need to be comfortable with a high level of uncertainty, especially in startups. So things are changing quick. I would say the other very important thing here is that you need to be super interested in this job. You need to have a natural a habit for curiosity, and also I do seek feedback everywhere I go. So even, for example, after this talk, I would like to hear a brutal feedback if it was of any way useful. And this was for me sort of a learning I gained from my natural behavior of being in a company. So it is not the high salary, it is nothing else, it is really the curiosity. And a statement that I'm saying everywhere when it comes to product management job, I would do this for free. I just love it so much. Cool. So second point is asking the right questions. So I believe it happened to you also many times that you got a task from your boss, you just went to work, super excited that you know the solution, but you forgot to really understand the context. So the second time, the tech team were kind of angry, telling me, why are we actually doing this? I was a bit embarrassed, yeah, going to the boss again and challenging him on what is actually the context of the issue, the problem, or the solution in general. So yeah, I was starting to feel that as a product manager, I'm being kind of useless here in this information ping pong. And then the person can actually deliver the same message to the tech team without me being in a loop. The learning I got here was that even if it's super hard to challenge your boss, no matter what it is, if the team lead or head of product or CPO, CEO, doesn't really matter. You need to understand the real problem. You cannot just understand the issue. Issue is the surface part, and you need to understand the underlying problem for this. That is something that will definitely deliver also trust, because you do understand the context. That is something super important. Something that I can recommend here that helped me throughout my life is this framework called 5 Whys. This is just to give an example. Someone tells you, hey, the page needs to load faster. Then you ask, well, why is that? And along the line, you will realize that the only problem was that people were pressing Control F and searching for things, and had to go through all the pages, whereas the only thing they needed actually was a search field. All right. So this is something that I highly recommend, is to really understand the problem, not just the issue. Cool. Obsession with customer. So again, I'm sure it happened to many of you before many times, but here I am doing a product management job as usual, but people started giving me tasks where they only wanted me to write tickets, right? Just write a ticket, move it to the tech team, get things done. Additionally, they start calling you a project manager. Then you know you have another issue to solve, right? So the thing here is that at the end, I didn't want to just write tickets. Yeah, I needed to go back and push back enough to be able to understand how to add the real value to the customer. So push back to actually understand what is the context, what is the underlying thing, to be able to really figure it out. So the learning here was that your main job as a product manager is to deliver value to the customer. There is no way around it. Perhaps the job could be called a value delivery manager. I'm very serious about this. Even if you are delivering, let's say, solutions for different stakeholders like investors, and they're pushing you to do things they think are the best, it's still the customer who is paying for use of the product, whether it's software or hardware. So you need to really figure out at everything you do, how are you going to add the value? How are they going to fall in love with the product? Cool. Last two points on the product side. This is something that hit me hard during my life, but I'm very excited to get better at it, and that is 5-star communication. So as a product manager, I was writing tickets pretty much all the time. On top of that, you are communicating with all stakeholders in both written and verbal way. Often I found people that didn't really get what I was trying to say. And I have one example here. When you try to tell people, let's do this test bi-weekly, yeah, there is simply a group of people that thinks it's twice a week, and a group of people that thinks it's once every 2 weeks. And now let's end with this. They are both correct, right? So moving on, let's say you understand the meaning of words finally, and you still have, let's say, tickets or emails that are just very long, very hard to read. So this is something I would say pay close attention to all the time. As a product manager, you have the strongest weapon you have is your written and verbal communication. What you are going to move, let's say, to one person, it's going to be perhaps slightly changed to another person and so on. So just make sure the core, which is you, the source of the information, is super crystal clear. Let's say there is often a situation where I think I should give it that one last read, whether it's an email or whether it's a ticket. I know this is kind of obvious to everyone, but I would still recommend to make this a rule. Just sometimes if you're not comfortable enough with whatever you wrote, just go back, take a walk, 1 minute, come back, read it one more time. If you're satisfied with it, send it out. And, you know, ask for feedback all the time. People will tell you what they understood by your message, and you will just get better and better all the time. Yeah, it's super important also for the tech team, because this is one of the most expensive department usually in a company. And if they just don't get something, it's your fault, in this case my fault. So you have to just really make sure this works fine. The sort of framework I use when writing emails or tickets is called FBR: fast, bad, and wrong. And just let everything out from your head on a paper, and then you clarify it till the moment there is not a single word that is just not needed. Perfect. And we have the last point on the product management side, and then we are moving on to the founding section. So here, let's talk about prioritization. When selecting what to do next, it doesn't matter if you are creating like a roadmap or you're doing your daily tasks, we are often wrong. We just don't take enough time to actually understand a priority. And this is actually super important in software development, as you pretty much always have to work with limited resources, and there is always too much work, let's say, to get done. In one of the companies I worked with, when the team was super small, I was able to remember and explain all the priority easy. But however, once the team got bigger, it was a huge issue to let's say hold 30 new feature requests and feedbacks from, let's say, 50 to 100 different people. So I would suggest here, you need to have all your facts straight, so you're able to confront people. Because I believe it happened to everyone, that people are pushing you on, hey, prioritize this over this, why this is not happening first, and so on. You need to have all your data straight, so you're able to immediately explain this, right? You don't need to hold it in your back. Just create a nice, let's say, just organize yourself nice, either in Jira or Trello, Notion, whatever that is. But you need to have good answers. To simplify things, when looking at the priority, I would say it's a combination of two things. What is the value and what is the cost, right? Just to simplify things, this is how you can decide on what to do next. Now, with the value, that is something that you have to figure out as a product manager. From the context, you can just understand like a simple business case to be able to understand how much, let's say, money would it create for the company or save for the customer and so on. And when it comes to complexity or cost, that is something that your tech team will be able to help you by estimating the tickets. So another thing that helps a lot is, like for me, working usually with CEOs in startups, I was super close to the source of the information. So I really had the best context. So coming back also to my previous points, always push super hard on understanding the topic all the way to the bone. Cool. Now we're starting with like the 5 points around the co-founding area. Is there perhaps a question area right now, or do we do it at the end?
I think let's keep it to the end. So we still have this link in our chat that directs to Slido. If you would like to ask the question personally when Alex finishes his presentation, then just DM me and I will unmute you. Perfect.
Perfect. All right. So now we are entering the area of, let's say, a founder or a co-founder. And this is something super new to me. And I have all the things still fresh in my memory for the past, let's say, year and 1 quarter. So very, very excited to share it with you. So first thing on my agenda here in this section is a vision. So a little story here is that doing things because you simply were told to is not the best idea to work. I had a chance to work in companies with and without vision, and it's simply easier to work with companies with vision. That is obviously constantly changing, but it's still something that will always help you, let's say, align all the stakeholders, or figure out the thing that you do, how does it actually point to the vision of the company. It sounds super obvious that I'm sharing this, but it's actually something that people don't have figured out at all, and they don't even spend enough time on it to be able to figure this one out. It is, I mean, when it comes to, let's say, my own company, this is something me and Simon spend so much time on, because once you have a good vision, it is super easy to align all the people. It is very easy to explain all the things to investors. It is easy to hire and onboard people. And most importantly, it will make you, you know, stand up and go every day. So this is the single thing that that makes you wake up and go to work, do whatever you're doing. It's not the money, it's not other success stories, it's the vision. So I believe if you if you want to start a company, perhaps start thinking about this already. It is a combination of, let's say, future trends and something you like, and you need to test it with some of your friends if they also think this is something sane and makes sense. Yeah, it will set you on a right track to go forward. Even now, yeah, looking at the logistics space, it seems to be pretty packed already, but there is always something you can do. Always something you can do. Even like 100 other unicorns could be built in logistics space just in Europe. You just have to figure out that vision, which will, as I said, constantly change. But yeah, it is something really good to have. Cool. Now let's talk about starting a company. Yeah. So as I said, first time for me. So I was at the restaurant, or let's say a bar, talking to one of my closest friends. We were thinking about starting a company for past 5 years. Plus, both me and him, we were talking about these things from testimonials from our friends since we were little kids, right? So we just never got to the point of starting it. And yeah, here we are at that bar, and we just decided to just go for it and start. We had these questions about how we're going to finance ourselves, because, well, we had, you know, good jobs and good career trajectories, good salaries, but yeah, we really wanted to start this, but didn't know if there is a way around how to get, let's say how to get money. Another thing that I would say really helped me here is working closely with the CEO of Sender. He was a person that actually tried to empower everyone in his company to become founder at some point. So here, I guess the analogy to everyone else could be, you just have to find that right person around you. You know, talk about ideas, talk about how to start these things, and you will definitely eventually do it. Learning here for me was that, first of all, 90% of all the startups, they fail at some point in their lifetime. So this is a long-term game. Yeah. Another thing to point out, that these things are, it's not happening in a year or two, that you will have some valuable learnings, or actually make it to some extent, you know, to some level of traction with your company, some number of customers. It just takes time. I would say maybe perhaps count with 5 to 15 years, right? So another thing is that money is honestly everywhere, right? So me and my closest friend Googled for a little bit, and then found out that there is a couple of companies that are actually providing you with a couple of €1,000 per month, right? So there is not really let's say a big issue around the money. And yeah, once you start a company and you're, let's say, kind of successful, perhaps on the seed round, I can share with you that there is going to be a lot of money, a lot of salary. Don't worry about it. So just, you know, get going, and all the things will be definitely figured out. Cool. Finding a co-founder, another super interesting point. So as I was saying, the friend of mine who I joined one of the communities where they helped us to start a company, was and is still a very, very close friend of mine. Just to give you a little bit of a background, where did we actually go, yeah, to start a company and found a co-founder? We joined this community called Entrepreneur First. This is just one of, let's say, many places you can go to, but these guys are special because they help you find a co-founder, and I will come to this point in a second. Yeah, at this point of the story, I still have a co-founder. So we joined this community, and you know, everyone in the community was super busy about, you know, finding the right co-founder, doing the ideation process, and all the points that I will come back to in another slide. And we were just comfortable. You know, we talked for 4 or 5 years about starting a company. We are the closest friends. I'm very strong on the, let's say, commercial side. He's one of the best engineers I ever knew. But yeah, 2 weeks in, and we had to break up our company because we were just not a good team. And that is something that also Entrepreneur First, in this case, helped us figure out. So, you know, better early than later in this case. And let's say what happened after was very, very smooth. I was super lucky to find my current co-founder, and yeah, this is a person that I wanted to share. This is a person I want to spend my next 15 years with. So that is a great benefit of finding a great co-founder. But please do not underestimate this, because it is I believe one of the most difficult things, but one of the most rewarding. So the learning here, as I said, you're gonna spend, let's say, 15 years with this one person. You're gonna have definitely one of the most intimate and close relationship with this person. So you better invest enough time to find that one or two. Yeah. No matter how many people you want to partner up with. The reason why I wanted a co-founder is because there are so many difficult things you will go through when starting a company or when scaling the company. You just do not want to do this alone. There are not many cases in the world where this actually worked out fine. There is always this hidden champion that is not talked about a lot. But in general, I would always recommend to go for a team of 2 to 3 people, for sure. There are certain benefits from it. So I would say first one is that, as I said, some days are so hard that you just want to quit or you want to cry, but well, there's 2 of you, so you can cry together. Still better than doing it alone. Second thing is there is more knowledge, right? You just have to find someone that fulfills you, that is like a puzzle. And the last point is that you just get more stuff done. So the rule is that 1 + 1 should be equal to 3, right? Definitely not 1, which is something I also saw in some of the cases. Cool. Last 2 points. So ideation and focus. So again, talking from the experience of starting a company in this community called Entrepreneur First, let's say you have a co-founder and you already figured out the hard questions. By the way, some of the mentions of the hard questions are, let's say, that broke me and my co-founder previously, so I didn't mention it before, was that, yeah, we got to the point of who will be the one talking to investors, right? And I think we can both agree with my closest friend that this was the no-go, because, well, if one talks to the investors, the other one has to work on a product. And as I don't have much experience in developing products, I mean, coding, that would be really hard. So that's when it didn't work. Coming back to my point here, let's say you already have a co-founder, everything is fine. You already asked the hard questions. You know you're the best team ever, right? Super rare, by the way, but happens. You need to now find out what is the thing you are actually going to work on, and this is called the ideation process. This is the time when you and your co-founder will actually list down ideas you like to work on, and it's pretty difficult. It's like starting to paint a picture, right? You can spend a couple of days thinking about it, and then you may actually never start. So this is the same approach. You have to just list the ideas. Ideally, it's something that you both like, and then you have to also figure out how you're going to make money from it. So there is a certain framework involved. I would strongly suggest Google something about it. Again, entrepreneur first, they're basically this is the main expertise. So they also helped us. They really grilled us on many things. I think we killed around 50 ideas, but then stick to the one we love the most. And what I wanted to share here as a learning is that you will go through this roller coaster of, you feel 10 times good in one single day, and then you feel 10 times so bad that you just want to quit. You want to go home. You never want to go back. And this was something that I experienced with myself, but also on many, many others that were in the same situation as us. So here, what is super important is to have grit. So grit is something that is like something like a hustling, right? You just go, just keep going, don't quit. Things will eventually turn out to be good. There are a couple of rules. Yeah, you have to be able to make money. It has to be based on a real customer problems. Whatever thing you're doing, if it's not a non-governmental, non-profit organization, it has to make money. And in our case, it was a VC-backed company, a venture capital-backed company. So we actually had to aim for markets that are above 1 billion euros to be, well, investors need to make their money back. So that's why is this saying unicorn, because you need to aim for valuations, let's say, higher than 1 billion euros. Cool. And yeah, when it comes to not quitting, like I have to tell you right now, having customers that are paying for the product, it's the best feeling ever. So it's like the perks of not quitting, I would say. I still don't know if it's the the best idea we're working on, but right now it seems to be going really well. And along this process, I realized this is the first time in my life that I actually made money. Not by being employed somewhere, but by creating something new from scratch and letting people pay for it. So just super rewarding. Wanted to share that. Cool. And the last point is buy-in and stakeholder management. So in our case, starting, by the way, this is super closely related to a product management job. So we can find many analogies here. We just have to exchange, let's say, the stakeholder names for just something else. In our situation, we had starting a company, we had two groups of, and we still have two main groups of stakeholders. First one is customers, and the other one is investors. Could be either VCs or angels or both. As both of these groups do not know you well yet, you need to spend, or we decided to spend a significant time from our days to actually talk to them. And it's not just random information. You have to be able to actually deliver some content in a message, but you really need to get to know one another. This is something I also was kind of copying from Sander, my ex-employer. They were really good at this, like communicating very clearly and to the right people and with the right frequency. What happened to us, still having this rule, what happened to us in a very early age of the company was that for, I think, a week, we didn't talk to one customer. And they felt really bad after this. They felt super underappreciated and took us, I think, maybe 20x the time getting them back than it would normally take by giving them some sort of a daily or weekly or whatever update. So this is something we still underestimated, and it really hurt us. But thankfully we got things back. But getting trust is always super hard. Learning here. So managing stakeholders has two main components. First one is creating a good relationship, and second one is to maintain this relationship. Remember, you are selling yourself first, and then the idea, right? It's always it's people business. Honestly, almost whatever you do, unless you work in a lab as a chemist, you actually work with people. So what is important is that you need to build a trust. It's not just the trust; it's also let's say I would say three main components here. You need to be very transparent. That is also something I learned from other companies that were proved to work. So don't hide things unnecessarily. Just be very transparent. It only helps. And yeah, answer emails on time, very fast. Yeah, with a certain stakeholders. I think I forgot my second point, what is important here, but well, the most important is the trust. And I would like to talk about trust a little bit, because this is something that is the hardest thing to get. I was studying a little bit about trust and why is it perhaps easier for me to get trust from people. It is, I would say, mainly these 5 attributes that you either have or you don't have, or you have and you can actually make them a little better. But they definitely help me at least to be able to get trust from investors, customers, my team, and all the stakeholders that I was managing on a daily basis. So first one is positivity. For some reason, this seems to be a very good way how to get trust. Second one would be selflessness. This is something where you are actually not thinking about yourself, but you think about other people's well-being first, especially when risk is involved, right? So by you raising a hand, raising an issue, you're actually confronting someone that could damage you, yeah, but you do this because you want to protect others. This is super helpful with trust. Third attribute here is authenticity. So for some people, for some reason, people just trust more the people that are authentic in some way. Fourth one would be decisiveness. This is a very simple one. You just cannot be the one that is not decisive, and no one likes to work with these people. And the last point is accountability. So yeah, just don't be afraid to admit the mistake, and just do it. If you don't do it, you don't get the trust. Easy as that. And additionally, something that really helped me in the startup right now, it's something called over communication, right? So of course it needs to be with a good quality content, but do not underestimate the power of over communicating. That means if I'm starting with first 5 investors, I have to talk to them on a daily basis or weekly basis, or just create some pattern there. Same thing goes to customers. Like with our customers, I'm in contact on daily or let's say every second day basis, just to make sure they have everything they need. And I always can come up with something that will add value to their life. It's not just this, I would say stupid question, how are you doing? But, asking them what do they need, going the extra mile, like getting things done also from outside of scope of the product and so on. Trust is, then it's super easy to work with trust. Cool. And just to wrap up these 10 points, I would say if there will be only 3 things that you can take from this monologue, would be ask hard questions, ideally early on. It doesn't matter if it's in work or with your co-founder building a startup. It is super helpful, and I was avoiding this for so long. I think many people were doing the same thing. But something I learned, it's you just need to do it early on. Very hard question, something you are thinking of, but you're afraid to ask. Just do it. Of course, it goes both ways. So if someone asks you these things, just please don't take things personally. And this is also an amazing lesson in general, building a startup or managing, a product of a company. You're not always getting the nice information. People are sometimes using you as a punching bag, right? So just don't take things personally. Second one would be communication. Getting this right, get a coach, read about it a little bit. It's something that is highly underestimated by many people, and something I would like to point out as one of the most, let's say, top 3 important things, being a product manager or starting a company. Makes things easier down the road. And the last point is vision. It's just something that will make you go every morning, right? Till the evening, all the time, put smile on your face. Again, doesn't matter if it's in a company or working on your own startup. Yeah, I would say this is it from my side. I had no idea how long did it take, but hopefully it filled the time properly. And yeah, I hope it helped.
Thank you so much, Alex. Absolutely. So I would say before we just go to the Slido section, we had a question from the room from a person whose name I can't pronounce, but I can pronounce a surname, which is Daddy. Daddy, are you still with us? Oh, just a second. Maybe I need to. Okay. I have. All right, I'll figure this out, Daddy. I'm asking to unmute you somehow, but it doesn't allow me. So let's move on to Slido, and then I will get back to you. All right.
Oh, this is live. All right.
Yeah, of course. What do you think? It's like we're just.
Yeah, just didn't know. That's cool, because some people ask me if it's live, and they just told me not to show magic tricks or do jokes. So good to know. So,
all right, we have the first question from Alex, and team members, people who are currently in the chat, you can upvote the questions if you think that it's interesting to you, or still can ask some. All right, Alex is asking, how did you identify you wouldn't work well with your friend and would work great with the person you found at Entrepreneur First? What were the hard questions?
Nice. Very good question. So let's first answer your first part of the question. What were the hard questions? So I would say 2 main important things here is that we had to ask one another is who will be the one that is going to be more on the, let's say, pedestal, the one, more visible to the investors, more seen as the decision maker, right? And we kind of both felt like we want to be that person. For me, it was more like I just can't be the other one, because to be honest, the other one, like, someone has to code. Like, if you do software product, someone has to do this thing. So my friend told me that something that makes a lot of sense, that tech is for him just a way how to get from A to B. It's not something he wants to do his whole life. He's one of the smartest engineers I ever met in my life. Yeah, but he wants to step up, or let's not call it step up. He wants to change and be that person, that one that is more visible. So this was let's say, a first problem. And then the other problem was around, who will do these things like, keep the office clean or something like that. For me, it was more like we just didn't click. We just didn't click here. I have no problem cleaning toilets, right? That is all good. But we just didn't have the split done in the right way. And again, I would suggest, if you want to know more about, like, the lists of hard questions, either I can send it to you or contact entrepreneur first, or like they have a really nice framework for it. But for us was, I would say, mainly the point with who's more visible and who's the hidden champion, right? And the second part of the question was, how did I know that the Simon, my current co-founder, is the one? Well, I was never married, or I'm not married, but this was something like a marriage. We just both felt like, when I'm done with my stuff, I wanna ask you, how can I help you, right? And if both are on the same level, always trying to impress the other one, always trying to help the other one, that is the right thing to do. And don't get me wrong, I had this thing also with one of my close friends, but that was just not the match. And with my current co-founder, we are clear on who's doing what. We blindly did a couple of tests, understanding the responsibility split, and it was almost always clearly, with a clear split. Plus, amazing humor. Yeah, we both during hard times, you need another attribute, which is humor. That will help you go through these hard times. Otherwise, you will go insane. So we have this done perfectly, and I admire this person. I don't know if he admires me, but I hope so. Yeah, hope it answers.
Nice. Nice. Thank you so much, Sani. It's a really good question. I do have a friend who is currently a CEO of a robotics company. So they are kind of revolutionizing the construction folding. So they're really, really very like tech, but more like hardware tech. And there are 8 co-founders, and actually like that's how they decided to split the roles. Some of them get like a little bit less equity, but more salary, and then we're doing more like work that is more like in the interest of the company. So if somebody has like a question in mind, so basically what is the best value that you could deliver in the company, and that should be your role. So basically, ego aside, how can you bring the most value to the company? This is normally the questions that you should ask.
True, but if I may add to this, like it is how can you add the best value, but also, well, we are all joining this journey because we also want to learn, right? So it has to be a little combination of both, right? Always, me and Simon, we always think what is the best thing for the company, right? You cannot be selfish here, it's the company, right? But we also want to learn things. So there can be a nice split to deliver the effect there.
Thank you. So I asked this question anonymously at the very, very beginning, because I thought, okay, if there will be no questions, at least we need some. Very honest about it. And this is a very kind of like, maybe a little bit standard. What would be like your personal advice that you would give to the first-time founders who maybe have idea, but not sure whether it's worth it? So what would you do?
Yeah, so I think I was in the same situation, and I maybe will be many times in my life again. So if there is an idea, you have to do something really hard, which is, if you're alone, you have to actually sit down, you have to understand the whole commercialization of the idea. You have to do mom test. Again, a book you can read is, I think, 20 pages long, about understanding how to check with the customers if this is something they care about and also want to pay for. So I would say maybe to frame the answer more structured way. Idea, first of all, has to be something you like to work on, right? So you have to like the customers, the problems, and the solutions, right? Roughly. So second point I would look at is after the idea is looking at if the product can be built, whatever, hardware, software, whatever that is, service, it has to be feasible to build. Third point is it actually a pain point of customers? I mean, when Elon Musk was creating his companies, he probably didn't, have this question. So it doesn't really need to be on the first place. That's why I'm pointing into number 3. But it needs to be commercialized. It needs to be someone's problem, and someone needs to pay for it. So a couple of phone calls in a week, you are done with 100 interviews, and you will realize if this makes sense. Then you should proceed on a business model, just to understand you know, can I make money? You know, isn't it going to cost more than I'm actually going to get from it? Because at the end of the day, someone has to pay for it. Someone has to pay for your salaries and so on and so on. This is the 4 steps I would suggest to do.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alex. We continue with another question from Alex. Would be, how did you know the idea you pick actually has potential and more potential than the other ideas you had?
Yeah, so the idea was, I would say, 2 reasons why I was super attached to it, why I also believed it made sense. So the attachment is my personal attachment, and Simon's attachment is because we both hate waiting. And we just don't understand why someone has to wait a day or an hour or whatever for being loaded and unloaded, right? There is around 2 billion, 2.5 billion events like this happening every year in Europe. And it just didn't make sense to us, right? I hate waiting personally. I'm sorry to all those of you who had to wait for me, but just sharing my personal feeling. I don't like waiting, right? So I would just, yeah. So personal attachment. Second thing is, there is obviously solutions on the market doing something similar, but that's for everything. Everything is a remix, nothing is really new. That is pretty certain about it. We just did a couple of phone calls and realized if our passion is actually matching the commercial side. And we also realized doing a couple of interviews that the solutions working right now on the market. By the way, in addition to that, I know the solutions, right? I was from the industry, so know a bit about that. But we also realized from testimonial from customers that it just doesn't work. They hate the solutions that are on the market. They stopped developing 15 years ago, yeah, the overall idea. And then we thought about, you know, looking at all the data sets that could be generated. We realized that the market has only like 10% of the data points. And we realized we can fill the other 90, and we built a couple of models and realized that we can support decision-making of humans in this very complex ecosystem with data-driven decisions, for which we're using machine learning and AI. So yeah, to summarize, passion and testimonials from customers.
Thank you so much. All right, question from Pedro. I'm also a PM dreaming about launching my startup. Would love to hear about your best tips on incubators. What are the best to take you from zero to hero?
Oh, so there are a couple of options, right? So you have accelerators and incubators. Now, I think one is in general taking equity, the other one is not. Don't understand the terminology, I forgot. But when it comes to starting a company, I would say what is important here is to understand, do you have a co-founder or not? Right? If you don't, then I don't want to be like making some, let's say, advertisement for the companies I worked for, but entrepreneur first, try it. Like for me, it was the best thing. And I researched a lot, right? Go to either Y Combinator in America, but it's far, or to entrepreneur first. There are also others, but they don't pay so much close attention to you. And you know, being first-time founder is hard. You can be lucky, but otherwise it's hard. So entrepreneur first. Sorry, hopefully I'm not making some advertisement here, but best recommendation from my side.
Thank you so much, Pedro, for the question. If you are interested, I did come across the article that was recently published on Medium about somebody who was part of the Entrepreneur First and like talking really detailedly about his experience and what whether you should do this or not. So just reached out to me and I will send it to your way. Another question, do you have a plan B in case your company doesn't want to work?
That's a very good question. Actually, funny thing, I'm thinking about this sometimes because,
every day.
as I said,
no, I'm kidding.
Oh, it's every second day, bi-weekly. No, it's let's say you don't want to have plan Bs in general because then you don't focus on plan A. That's what some people may say. But I'm not living in a poorest country in the world. I have 2 arms, 2 legs. So the thing is, you can, and I'm being super honest here, you cannot just go lower than where you are right now. You can always go work for some company, but the learnings I was able to generate, just speaking from my subjective point of view, are so huge in this year that if I would, let's say, start another company, it will be just 10 times better, right? So I'm not afraid of that at all. You cannot, like, you know, I'm a person who can go straight to, you know, work in Starbucks again and then work my way up. So I really don't have an issue with that, and I don't think you should either. I think we're all blessed. We can do whatever we want or get wherever we want.
Thank you. It's a very, very humble one. All right, another question from an anonymous. How did you organize yourself when the idea was there, but you were juggling your startup and your other job? Did you drown in lists and to-dos? So what was your system? Or did you have one?
Yeah, so the thing is, I had a huge problem with this because I was working in such exciting companies that, as I said, I would do it for free. I was constantly at work and not really being able to think about my ideas. But hey, there are always weekends. So over the weekends for me was constant, like, lists, like structured lists, understanding these things. And to be honest, I'm writing ideas like this since maybe 17, 18. My first idea was budget calculator when I was 15. That was 17 years ago, Jesus Christ. So I was thinking about, like, I was measuring how much I spend on what and so on, so on. So it already started kind of then, but I just never took it forward. And now, you know, number 26 has it. So yeah, it's lists, structured lists, but please structured. Don't write 20 sentences. Just make it in a way that you're actually able to read it tomorrow. This was my weekends. And what I'd like to add here is that the circle of friends I have, we just love to talk about these things. And we are challenging one another on, like, what to do, what not to do, and so on, so on. And I love these conversations, right? So it's very, very beneficial.
Cool.
I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, so basically 2 points: surround yourself with like-minded people who are also interested in hustling, and then make a hell of a lot of structured lists. All
Yes,
right,
yes.
a question from Tristan. How much time was between idea and founding, like, approximately? And I think we need to, like, specialize, like, specify what do you mean exactly with founding. So what was for you founding?
So let's say I'm gonna give you the example of Entrepreneur First because, well, it's just, I don't have many others. This is actually one I have only. So when we stick to the idea, it was two. I can hear myself twice. All right, good. So it was 2 months after we had the idea, roughly. We went to pre-seed committee. Yeah, they tell you either it makes sense or not. That's like the first funding we had. So 2 months. We did all the interviews and everything, and then we had 2 months to actually try to get customers saying that yes, this is something they like to use. Right. That's it. You don't need more time, right? Unless you need to build a hardware that will take you a year, but you can still get testimonials from the customers saying this makes sense. And then you go to a, let's say, a committee for pre-seed investment with Entrepreneur First, and they give you yes or no. And then you just starting the incorporation process because you are getting money, right? That is the reason why you start a company, because you need a bank account, and you cannot get that without being incorporated. To summarize this, we had the idea 1st of November and got the money mid-January, first pre-seed money, and incorporated beginning of February, because it just takes time in Germany.
Thank you so much. And I think we're gonna focus, like, take the last 2 questions. So I'm not really sure. Did you mention at which point in time did you quit your job? How much of your startup idea had you validated before? Yeah, maybe not that precise.
So the thing is, I am from logistics, say, for many years. So for me, it was always thinking about these things, right? Always thinking about ideas in the space. Not that I'm not creative, but simply it's just good to have some sort of domain edge. It helps you going forward, the people and so on. So the time between, that was pretty quick actually. Remembering sitting with my close friend at one of the restaurants here in Berlin, or let's say bars, there was, I think, July, right? And then you need to do the process of like onboarding other people, so on, so on. I even think it was like March or April. It depends on your contract. If it says 3 months notice period, then you need to do that. And you, of course, want to be nice to your employer, so you need to give them a chance to find someone else, and so on, so on. But it's pretty quick. Yeah, it's pretty quick. I hope I answered this.
So let's take the last question from Johannes, which is, you said you spend a lot of time on building a vision. Are there things you are not spending enough time on? Design, processes, HR. I know that you're 5-people team, right? If I'm not mistaken. So is there anything that you wish you spend more time on?
Actually, there is always something you wish for, but I would say I would spend even more time on the vision, right? Because this is just something that is, again, underestimated. I'm not even kidding. It's weird thing to say, but if you have that, then it's easier to build product and sales roadmap, onboard people, and so on, so on. I think, okay, one mistake to not to be talk about vision all the time. What I wish I spent more time on is stakeholder management. Something I talked about in the presentation. You just have to talk to people that are close to you all the time. Super important. So I'm talking a lot to employees and people who work with, but I would say not enough to customers and investors. So something I need to step up in, I would say.
And I would suggest we currently stop. I will stop presenting, and then I will also stop the live stream. And